Good evening. This is AWANI Tonight, and I'm Saraya Mia. MCO announced for the whole country starting May 12th. And rising tension in Jerusalem. Is resolve out of reach? That's coming up. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has announced a nationwide movement control order starting on Wednesday. However, all economic sectors will still be allowed to operate.
Restrictions on interstate and inter-district travel, as well as on the education, social and sports sectors, will remain in place. Social gatherings such as wedding banquets, birthday celebrations and official events will not be allowed from May 12th to June 7th. No Hari Raya visits will be allowed either. Muhyiddin also announced a limit of 3 persons in a car, including the driver. It is also mandatory for employers to enforce a work-from-home policy at the workplace with not more than 30% of management staff on premise at any one time. All educational institutions are to be closed, with exemptions for students taking international examinations. Daycare centres and kindergartens will be allowed to operate throughout the MCO.
Employers who prevent workers from undergoing self-quarantine can be penalised. Health Minister Datuk Dr. Adam Babas said action can be taken against employers under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988 in brackets Act 342. He said workers who are positive must undergo compulsory quarantine for 10 days, while those negative should go into self-isolation. He issued the warning after COVID-19 clusters at workplaces surged to 44 clusters in week 18 from 24 clusters in week 17. $2,800 appointments for the AstraZeneca vaccine at World Trade Center on May 15th and 16th will be rescheduled. National COVID-19 Immunization Program Coordinating Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said this is a precautionary measure to avoid overcrowding following the rise in cases recently.
He said the WTC vaccination centre will be operating at full capacity of 19,000 on both days, and as such, there is a need to reduce the numbers to about 16,000. The appointment schedule will be reallocated to later dates between May 17th and May 23rd. Those who have been selected for reallocation will begin receiving notifications on their MySejahtera and through SMS of their new appointment dates. Meanwhile, Khairi reiterated that no walk-ins are allowed for the ongoing opt-in AstraZeneca vaccination program. He said those on the waiting list will be called up instead if there are any vacancies left. There were some 60,000 individuals who are under the AstraZeneca waiting list due to insufficient slots.
Khairi defended the use of the hotspot identification for dynamic engagement or HIDE early warning system after critics questioned its shortcomings. According to him, the system is necessary due to the surge in mall activities leading to the Hari Raya festivals.
He acknowledged the existence of blind spots in the system's usage, but pointed out how shopping malls can still be potential hotspots which could lead to COVID-19 clusters.
HIDE deals with locations that are registered on MySejahtera. So there will obviously be blind spots where MySejahtera registrations are not complied with. That's why I highlighted the importance of complying with MySejahtera check-ins. These locations that are not covered by MySejahtera are, however, covered by the on-the-ground work done by KKM's district officers. However, just because there are blind spots on HIDE does not mean that shopping malls are not hotspots. There's been a huge surge of activity and footfall to shopping malls to run up to Hari Raya Aidil Fitri.
Earlier, critics have questioned the list of hotspots under HIDE, which included major shopping malls but no factories, which they claim were the main contributors of COVID-19 infections nationwide. Khairi also confirmed that premises listed by HIDE can be relisted again if data showed it could once again potentially turn into a hotspot.
Meanwhile, Dr. Adam said owners of premises listed on HIDE must enforce stricter gatekeeping at their entry points. This includes prohibiting entry to individuals listed as high risk on the MySejahtera app, as well as controlling occupancy in the premises.
Periodic sanitation of premises listed is also required. He, however, did not recommend immediate closures on premises listed on HIDE. He added that district health officers would receive daily height reports from the State Crisis Preparedness and Response Centre, and necessary steps will be taken if positive cases are detected. MySejahtera will also send alerts to casual contacts or people who visited premises listed on height to monitor their health status daily on the app.
Systems like HIDE uses artificial intelligence, or AI, in order to collect data at a large scale. While critics have commented on the biases the system may have, we explore on some of the ethics required in setting up an AI system. We speak to Sue Ann Lim, CEO of Trapper, on the do's and don'ts of AI.
So the word itself is called artificial intelligence, but what it really means is that it is intelligence created in reflection of the programmer's thinking. So we cannot expect the writers of an algorithm to be able to see yours or my view because they're not us. We all have cognitive bias because we're just humans. But when this bias is programmed at scale, can you imagine what will happen? Or imagine there is this algorithm that has 70% accuracy and is run by tech companies. And they think that 70% accuracy is good for launch because it would just take too much time to perfect the rest of the 30%. But can you imagine if this AI was biased and it is used to predict your criminal propensity, your ability to perform in your job, or whether you will be a good parent, anything that would impact you psychologically and economically? So will you still be okay if the accuracy was 70%? So I think that is really, really the question of how we view ethics in terms of AI.
Sue Ann adds that when it comes to data collection, practicing consent is important in order to avoid overreaction or misinterpretation of data.
I believe in consent. So data must be collected with consent to be used within certain parameters and never outside of. So what private companies do to get around this is that they create a long list of terms and conditions in font size 6 that would take days to read. And I think especially when it comes to data collected during the pandemic, it can be extremely useful to help individuals make informed choices, but it can also be very detrimental. So data that name names should be managed with a lot of care. And I give you the example, right? Like the height list, which I think has a great intention, which is to inform and avoid potential clusters. But I think the execution can be a lot more thought out because data collected from third parties are private data. The premises, then people could have been notified individually, and that could have a completely different outcome. I think the issue and also the news headlines that we've been seeing so far is the fact that people are panicking because they thought that this was potential outbreak is as good as the word outbreak, right? So I think we have to understand that not everybody can handle or manage information as the programmers themselves.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Induknya adalah Melayu.
Balik kepada Islam. This is chain reaction. Polisi.
Kalau itu yang dikehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang mesra wanita sudah tentu dia akan datang daripada pemimpin wanita.
Perang COVID-19 masih belum berakhir. Dalam kita berusaha memutuskan rantaian wabak ini, kita jangan terpedaya dengan
Welcome back. Palestinians and Israeli police clashed again today outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque as both sides brace for an escalating violence not seen in years. At least 80 Palestinians were injured in the clashes today. Tensions were particularly high on Jerusalem Day, which marks Israel's capture of East Jerusalem in 1967 and usually sees young Israelis walk through Muslim areas. It is regarded by many Palestinians as a deliberate provocation. Al-Aqsa, Islam's third holiest site, has been a focal point of violence in Jerusalem. In an effort to dial down tensions, Israeli police said they had banned Jewish groups from visits to the Holy Plaza that houses Al-Aqsa. Tensions have been high as Israeli settlers are moving to displace some 70 Palestinians from parts of Sheikh Jarrah district in East Jerusalem in what they are calling an effort to reclaim their ancestral land. But refugee Palestinian families have lived on the land for decades. Israel's Supreme Court has postponed a hearing regarding the case and will set a new date within 30 days. Hundreds of Palestinians and more than 20 Israeli police officers have been injured in clashes over the past 3 days. Meanwhile, the EU and US have voiced alarm over growing violence in Jerusalem while urging Israel to curb settlement expansion. UN Secretary Antonio Guterres also urged Israel to exercise maximum restraint and cease demolitions and evictions. As a land dispute is being waged in both the Israeli Supreme Court and on the streets of East Jerusalem, the recent violent clashes have once again reignited a decades-long conflict. At the heart of the matter, displacement of Palestinians and the status of Jerusalem. Professor of Politics and International Relations at University Utara Malaysia, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azizuddin Muhammad Sani, weighs in on the recent clashes and if resolve is out of reach.
Even though it's not new, it's happened many times in many areas, including in Gaza as well. So the only thing is whether this issue can become issue that trigger the next intifada, which I think you can see the more violence, between Palestinians, meaning that like previously we have an attack, rocket attack, also military, escalation attack also by Israelis. To certain areas in Palestine. I don't know whether it's going to be that.
According to him, the suggestion by President of Palestine Mahmoud Abbas to table a motion to the United Nations Security Council would be the only hope for a resolution. This option was previously failed due to challenges by a strong support of the Israeli government from the United States.
So now I think we want to know what's the policy of Biden. Either they can intervene in this case and to agree on the resolution of Security Council to intervene in this case if there is a motion, in the Security Council that pass, so it's going to be a collective of country intervene in these issues and try to resolve the issue of Israel-Palestine. Because I think almost all countries condemn Israel and also Israeli governments. The only thing is the US always really protected, considered as a protected partner to the Israel. But if Biden can change the policy of US, try to see case by case, and try to intervene in this case to resolve, not to prolong this case into later on war or whatever. So I think we hope that Biden will do something that change the scenario or geopolitics of the Middle East, which I think I think we know that the geopolitics of the Middle East determined by the issue of this, Israel-Palestine.
In other news, vaccine maker BioNTech will set up its regional headquarters in Singapore, along with a manufacturing facility to produce hundreds of millions of mRNA-based vaccines per year. The German biotechnology firm, which partnered Pfizer to develop a COVID-19 vaccine, said construction of the site will start this year and it could become operational by 2023. The facility will be equipped to produce a range of novel mRNA vaccines and therapeutics for infectious diseases and cancer. BioNTech did not disclose the total sum of investment in Singapore. At least 4 people were injured in a stabbing attack at a supermarket in New Zealand. 3 reported to be in critical condition. Authorities say 1 person has been taken into custody. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said a motive for the attack had yet to be determined, but it didn't appear to be an act of domestic terrorism. The government has a new warning system touted to predict future COVID-19 hotspots. Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our panelists about the consequences of using predictive systems to manage the pandemic. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Saraya Mia. We'll see you again